Welcome to Charlie's Toolbox, the only podcast that teaches you how to be the main character in your life. Here you can find all the tools and skills you need to decenter men, center yourself, and feel good about your life. Here's your host, researcher, observer, and marketer, Charlie Taylor.
Hello there, and welcome to this week's episode of Charlie's Toolbox. We discussed our boundaries with our friends in toxic and unhealthy relationships last week in part 1. In part 2, we talk about the fine line between support and self-preservation in friendships. We discussed the delicate balance of being there for your friends and also keeping your peace and safety. I wanted to take a deep dive into this balance because friendship conflict doesn't always have to result in the phrase, "I don't owe you anything," and leaving. Sometimes it can result in boundaries, or it can result in understanding what the situation and circumstance is. After all, you do owe them something. Before we get started with the meat of the episode, if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, follow, and share my podcast. It is a free way to support me, and it helps me know that the work I'm doing is worth it. So let's get started. In our efforts to protect ourselves, we forget that community is essential for our well-being. We forget that we will die if we spend our days alone because part of our humanity is intrinsically tied to community. However, in our pursuit of community, we must also be cautious about who we call friends because some are wolves in sheep's clothing and some are sheep who surround themselves with wolves. So the question we ask ourselves is, what is the line? It's not always enough to change the conversation or outline our boundaries. Sometimes we must honor our boundaries by walking away. When our friends decide to date, that decision can impact the trajectory of their whole life. Not only does it impact her life, but it also impacts anyone who is in her orbit, including you. So when she has a baby, you will likely step up to do things her partner doesn't do. When she is lied to and manipulated, you will be the person to help tend to her heart. You will become the shoulder to lean on, the listening ear, and the refuge. And when their partner is abusive, you may also become the target of their abuse too. So unfortunately and selfishly, you must consider yourself in this friendship. So how do you decide? That is the question. When is it time to walk away? Especially from a friend who is in a toxic relationship. When is it time to stay? Especially when you know the motive of an abusive man is to isolate their partner and you know that the best way to be there for them is to bear witness. I have no answers to those questions, but I do have questions that may help you formulate your answer because there is no one-size-fits-all solution. As I ask these questions, I must take off the kid gloves and ask some gritty stuff that people tend to push in the back of their minds because no one believes they will die. I must also be selfish in these questions because though it is about the friend and they are the most vulnerable, it is about you too, and we can't lose sight of that. So here are some questions to help you consider how you want to be a friend to a person in this situation or whether you should be a friend to a person in this situation. Number 1, can you be friends with someone who vents about a situation they do not plan to solve? I ask this because people have different levels of tolerance. And when you are friends with someone in this type of situation, you will hear the same problem repeatedly. And instead of listening and one day blowing up because you are frustrated about hearing the same shit, prevent hurting your friends' feelings anymore and ask yourself, can I be this for them? Sometimes you can't be it. Sometimes you can be the friend who talks about everything else besides their relationship, and that can be the boundary. When you can be for someone, what you can be for someone is for you to determine and for you to communicate. So be thoughtful and truthful and communicate what your capacity is. Number 2, can you stand by and bear witness to the abuse? Because you will see the black eyes in the bruises. You will hear the sobbing and heaving. You will hear the cries. You will see the ugliest parts of a man. And as selfish as this sounds, it may be too much. It may trigger your own abuse. It may cause you to be restless. And I know how selfish this sounds because it is not happening to you, but you will be there. You will see it. You will want to intervene, and often you will be told not to. So can you bear witness? Number 3, are you okay with the possibility of being in danger? Because women have been killed by their friends' boyfriends, and if she decides to leave, death not only becomes a high percentage for her, but it also becomes a higher percentage for you too. So are you prepared for that possibility? Can you gather the resources to ensure your safety? What can you do to make sure that both you and her are safe? These questions may result in a hard boundary, or they may require you to step back, or they may help you be the type of friend she needs because you are aware and prepared for those possibilities. You owe your friends something, but sometimes you must be smart about what you can do. So I hope these questions help you think through it, and whatever you land on, it does not make you a better nor worse person. It makes you a realistic one and a person who is trying to figure out what is the best way to preserve themselves. And on that note, you all take care. Bye.
For show notes, be sure to check out charliestoolbox.com. Follow Charlie on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Charlie's Toolbox. Thanks again for listening to Charlie's Toolbox.